Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The drama is already underway here in Black Ops 6 with the pros in some pretty heated debates as to exactly what may or may not need to change in terms of the competitive weapon set going into the upcoming season. The Model L has been a rather strong weapon so far, and many of the players, especially the SMGs, are pretty intent on getting it banned out of competitive metas. Is this the first GA that we're going to see, the gentleman's agreement the pros come up with, or are they seriously going to disagree on whether this weapon is too strong or not? What's the meta going to end up as? Because right now there are multiple potential viable weapons, but it may very swiftly become a two-weapon meta again. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Money B with a nice clip on the skyline yesterday. And this is another clip here from Simp. So this is the weapon that we're going to be talking about today, and that is what kind of looks like the Krig in many respects, but is effectively the Model L in this game. And, well, it's pretty good. If you guys have used it, especially some of the classes the pros have been rocking with, it has basically no recoil and kills very fast, especially if you throw a headshot into the mix. And we have started to see many what you might consider to be SMG players, even this was true for Shotzzy over the last couple of days, are starting to put out an AR instead. So here we are on, this is Protocol, obviously, a map that as soon as I saw it first, it reminded me a fair bit of Flak Tower from COD, from World War II, of course, just because of the way this part of the map is designed. And it also kind of has like Gibraltar vibes from World War II as well. So, you know, it does have some harkening back to a map that actually was a competitive map in the past in both of those. Not like they were great. Gibraltar and Flak Tower were not especially, you know, the most well-liked maps on World War II, but still, there's maybe something a little bit promising about this for competitive play. Time will tell. But, yeah, Simp is here with the Model L in hand, absolutely farming these guys, and, well, you can't blame him for using this gun when right now it's pretty much the strongest thing that they have on offer. So we'll get back to that in a second. FaZe are also not so happy about the, well, the way the sound works, because, okay, dead silence is a thing and it makes you quiet, and that's good. The problem is, for the players, is that if you don't have it on, which you don't, not necessarily always will, certainly in like respawn modes and stuff, to you don't sound especially loud, but to everyone else you sound like an elephant, right? Which is, you know, you never want, let's say, the player who's actually not running dead silent to hear your own footsteps super loud in your own ears. It's just distracting. But I think there's a debate from the FaZe boys as to whether that's slightly imbalanced right now, and it's, you know, better for others. We are still expecting, as of recording the video, some announcements to come soon. It is one of the reasons why the kickoff tournaments this year haven't been as insane as usual, is because some of these teams aren't yet confirmed. So what are we going to do? Maybe by the time this video goes live, Los Angeles Gentlemates or whatever they're going to be have been officially confirmed. But yeah, Skyz is making it pretty evident what's happening here. Wow, at Gotaga. So of course, Gotaga, former professional COD player from France, now, you know, has a massive organisation and following over there in France, and the Gentlemates team is coming into COD. It's going to be Skyz, it's going to be Kismet, it's going to be Priestahh, and it's going to be Lynz. That's the rumoured four-man team. How good are they going to be? Question. But Skyz is not making it very unclear that this is exactly what is going on. There's also a glitch, which as of recording is currently in the game, where we know the flashbangs are pretty strong, and we know that there's quite a lot of drama about effectively getting rid of the flashbangs from the competitive meta, banning them, you know, basically GAing them in some regard. And there is a play, if you get flashed, and they're very powerful in this game, if you bring up the scoreboard, you can actually see through the flashbangs. If you take the scoreboard off, it looks like this, obviously. But if you bring the scoreboard on, it seems to somehow forget the flashes there. And it's an interesting one because I guess the developers didn't catch this in their 4 years of development or whatever, which is fine. And maybe, you know, things like this exist. It's a bug and they'll fix it. It's not the worst bug you're ever going to see. But right now, if you guys are getting annoyed by flashbangs, give this a go, and it may help you out a little bit, because then you could still see technically the enemy that you're shooting. So, okay, it wouldn't be ideal, obviously, but better than not being able to see anything at all, I guess. It's worth a try anyway. So, yeah, that's a current feature of the game, or feature or bug, whatever you want to say, that you can potentially utilize. But the state of the game has not been especially well appreciated by many of the players. Clayster kind of gives his point of view, of course, now retired from competitive play. He hasn't yet really confirmed what his plans are next, of course. If I had to guess, you know, probably be on the desk next year or something, and I think they probably should do that. Whether Clay wants to, whether that's his best option, that's another question. But as Clay says, you know, fix Ninja, so we saw the FaZe guy saying a second ago, the mini-map, DLC maps desperately, and the game is good. Core gameplay is insanely good, just gotta fix the other stuff. I feel like this is, you know, how often do we say this? Like, every year that the new COD comes out, it's like, well, the core gameplay is good, but XYZ. This year, the core gameplay is probably better than it's been for the last few years. I would agree with that. But there are still problems. And as Clay says, multiple gun meta is possible with how they all fit into their own roles. Headshot multiplier being a thing, though, is still a snooze fest. And I agree with this. I know that it's obviously a thing in other games. But in COD, I just don't know if a substantial headshot multiplier is necessary. 1.1, you know, seems fine to me. But the fact that often weapons are killing so much quicker, when often the reason why people are hitting headshots is merely their gun kicks up to the head. If it was like the Krieg back in Cold War, when if you did body shots it was 5 shots to kill, and if you got 1 headshot it became 4 shots, then they changed it to be you had to get 2 headshots and 2 body shots for it to be a 4 shot. That actually added some skill, because then you could deliberately aim for the head and hit the headshots and kill the guy quicker. And if that's true, that's fair. But if it's like you have to throw 1 headshot into the mix to get a 3-shot kill as it is now, but if it is now where like you throw a lucky headshot in sometimes and you kill the guy way quicker, that I'm not sure is the most competitive thing ever. And Clay's like, yeah, 3-shot guns got to go. He also goes on to talk about a couple of other things as well. Stuns are cosmetic, flashes are overpowered, but the dichotomy in perk 1 with ninja, flak, and tac and a wildcard gunfighter perk greed means people have to make choices on flak, tac, ninja, gunfighter, and that's a net positive for competitive. Shouldn't GA flashes because then nobody cares about stuns or tacs. And you know, this is the argument that some pros like Clayster, especially guys that have been around for 10 plus years, they really get it. Back in Black Ops 2, for example, there were some things in that game. EMPs were super strong, like really powerful. Today, EMPs would be GA'd in a heartbeat, but they weren't back then because there was a counter to an EMP. If you put an EMP on, that meant that you couldn't use anything else in that equipment slot. It had to be an EMP grenade, and sure, it was very powerful, but if the other team threw on Hardwired, which was the perk that countered it, then your EMPs were useless, and therefore they could use Hardwired, your EMPs didn't do anything, and you know, there was a counter in play. And there are counters to flashbangs. It just means that you have to obviously, you know, choose tac mask over the alternatives, which means that you can't do everything you want to do, which is part of the game, right? You've got to make the sacrifices. Back in the day, that's always how it was. You could choose a class either with flak jacket, but if you put flak jacket on, you probably wouldn't get lightweight. So there was a compromise to be had. Do I want to be protected from nades and risk dying a couple of times a map, or do I want to make sure I'm faster? And this is a decision you've got to make. I think the players nowadays, they want it their own way. They want it easy. They want everything to work in the same way, but you can't always have your cake and eat it as well. And having something that requires some compromise in decision making, I think is good for Compass, Clay says. So his take is keep flashes in because look, they're powerful, but they can be countered, and therefore, you know, you have to make a decision as to whether you want to do that or not, and it, you know, makes the gameplay better. So this is when some of the drama kicks off with regard to the current meta in play. So there was talk about whether the game's actually good or not. Bean says, look, the maps are bad, the rest of it's good, but Nadeshot reckons this game is going to be a tough time for SMG players, and, you know, the AR's currently looking good. Now, I think the Jackal is pretty class. The Jackal is good. The Bison is pretty good. The SMGs are okay. The reality is, though, the ARs right now are probably stronger. And, you know, as Nadeshot says, I feel bad for all my boys in the CDL that run subs. Which, I swear we say this every year. And then it turns out that often the SMG players are still the most impactful and the highest KD players sometimes. Certainly in the case of HyDra, for example. But, look, the best players will tend to use the best weapons. That's how it is. And right now, it does feel like the ARs are slightly stronger, especially because of this weapon. The Model L that Sib is using here to great effect as well. So, yeah, this is a pretty disgusting 1 versus 3 that he has against these guys. Obviously, I think it's against the Miami team, isn't it? Yeah, they were getting absolutely world-starred yesterday. But, yeah, he gets the first kill on Metals. Vickles in the door, and he absolutely, I mean, he just incinerates him. It looks so much fun, this gun in Sibs has when you've got this level of mechanical skill. And then he goes out to close the round anyway, calls in the RCXD, and then guns the final guy down as well. And that's for a 16-in-6 elimination performance, 6-4 dub against Miami. But as we know, this Model L, you throw in a, you know, headshot multiplier, and all of a sudden you're looking at a 3-bullet kill. So as Bean says, am I missing something? Why is a 3-bullet AR not GA'd or banned yet? Now you might kind of wonder why this post I can't see it. That's because it's through Abuzah, who of course still has to be blocked on Twitter. But for some reason, when I was just scrolling through Beans' page, I could still see this tweet. So, you know, unlucky, I guess. But he says, yeah, and ban the flashes. And Bean says, flashes are fine, you can counter attack, and most of the time they don't actually blind you. some may disagree. I think they definitely blind you. But, you know, it was kind of Clayster's point from slightly earlier. Envoy doubles down, he agrees. Now, Beans is an AR. So this is why you might think the SMGs would be saying this. Usually they do, and they certainly did. We'll see in a second. But as Bean says, like, there's plenty of viable ARs. Let's just get rid of the Model L, the most powerful one, and then we'll go from there. And he says, COD scene baffles me sometimes, they've not banned it yet. And look, you could argue the Model L right now is too strong. Every player, including the SMG, is tending to pick it up. But if that's true, and you're seeing 6 Model Ls on the map all the time, then okay, maybe understandably the pros are going to say this gun's too powerful right now, it's got to go until maybe there's a change to the headshot multiplier or something. But, you know, Nero Poison says, when are we going to ban the model, right? So, obviously he's an SMG player, he is going to say that, you'd imagine. But Bean says it as well. There's other people that have said, you know, the A-meter's got to go, we need an XM4 JACL meta, and, you know, Shotzzy says, we finally get a good AR and all these subs want to GA it. Nero's like, the subs are god-awful, which, you know, which I don't think is true. I mean, the JACL is disgusting in my opinion. The question is whether we aren't just going to end up GAing everything again this year, because as Clay says, there is a genuine chance in this game because the weapon meta is relatively balanced. There's not a clear-cut, apart from the model really, best AR. There's not necessarily a clear-cut best SMG. There are better ones, but I think there's definitely an argument that certain pros will prefer certain weapons over others. I mean, back in Black Ops 2, for example, Rambo was kind of well known for using the MP7, and most other players would use the MSMC, but others would still prefer the PDW. Like, there were SMGs that were all reasonably balanced and viable, and, you know, yes, there was a majority favoured one, but there were some that people still used. Obviously, in Black Ops 3, the VMP was the best for a large period, but so was the Vespa. The Kuda was good. Some people liked the Pharaoh. Even from an AR perspective, some people liked the M8, but some people, you know, the Shiva was obviously viable if it wasn't getting banned in Banner Protect. The Man of War, the HVK, the XR2, like all these guns are potentially viable and competitive, and it made for a great competitive title. And that's kind of Beans' take, is he's like, look, there's plenty of viable ARs. If we get rid of this one, the game will play better. But, like, if I had to guess, what are we going to have? It's probably going to be another 2-weapon meta this year. But as JoeDeceives says, I gotta see these websites banning the Model L right about now. And Simp then says, yeah, I'm posted up with it because it kills in 3 bullets. So even Simp, probably wants to run a sub. He's using the Model L because it's just better right now. So is that going to be the first weapon that the pros officially GA from this year's title? I'll be very much intrigued to your perspective as ever on all this stuff in the comment section below. But hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.
Dude, he's getting me again, man. It's freak, bro.
Oh, has you? Is it the second time?
He's fucking me against a pipe, bro.